Hey everybody, movie reviewer next door here, and I'm back on another review. This time I saw Clawfoot. This is a 20, very weird because it says it's a 2024 release, but it was finished in 2023. I think it went to some like film festivals or something. But this is a thriller film directed by Michael Day in his directorial debut, and it stars uh, Francesca Eastwood, Milo Gibson, Olivia Culpo, Oliver Cooper, and Nestor Carbonell. In this film, an upper-class suburban housewife is psychologically terrorized by a manipulative contractor remodeling her bathroom, until the tables are turned and a twisted battle of wits ensues with deliciously unexpected results. So, what did I think of Clawfoot? Okay, so this is one I have to say, spoilers, because I have to talk about this film in a little bit of depth. Not like super depth, but I do have to talk about the ending and twists along the way. Because even with the twists, I'm not entirely sure what the hell is going on in this movie. It's one of those movies where even though I get what it's trying to do, it does it in a very confusing way. Um, so yeah, spoilers for when I talk about this. But one thing I can't really slag off is the main performances. But let me get to those. Francesca Eastwood plays Janet, again, a suburban housewife, upper class definitely. Um, she's uh wondering when her husband's gonna get home, and there's this contractor trying to get her a clawfoot tub, even though she said their tub is fine. Um, Francesca Eastwood is the daughter of Clint Eastwood, who I love and adore. But Francesca Eastwood's also not a bad actress at all. She's been in a few films that I've seen. She was in MFA, which I think is the best film she's starred in so far, where she's like a woman who was assaulted and she's going after other people's rapists. That was an interesting one, even though the feministy angle is a bit far in it with some of the dialogue. It's not that great. Final Girl, she was in the beginning, which is an Abigail film that I actually do enjoy. Has some issues with fighting and stuff that horribly done, but for the most part, I thought was an effective thriller. The Vault with her, Taryn Manning, James Franco, Scott Hayes, plenty of people. Thought that was a fun one. Uh, and yeah, this where um, I think her performance is a major highlight of the film because not only is she just incredibly gorgeous, she really is. Um, she does have a really good handle on acting, and she plays this role very well, especially during comedic parts. Even though the comedy was extremely hit or miss in this, I do think she played it well. Um, Milo Gibson plays Leo, this contractor trying to put a tub in her house, but it seems like he's just like destroying everything. Um, Milo Gibson is the son of Mel Gibson. Most of his performances that I've seen have been kind of meh. Like uh oh, actually I've only seen him in one movie. The one movie I've seen him in was All the Devil's Men, which I did really enjoy. I did think it was a very enjoyable action movie with some actually interesting characters that I was a bit sad when a character would die off, or I actually like felt the correct emotions. But even then, in that movie, his acting is a bit meh, and I've seen clips of him acting and other things. This is by far his best acting so far. He definitely is playing just this deranged villain role. I love when he lets loose. It's not like a scary performance. It's more like an over-the-top villain performance you'd see in like an 80s or 90s action movie. And I loved it. I thought it was a lot of fun. Again, not as good as Francesca, but still really good. Um, Olivia Colpo plays Tasha, who is um J Janet's lawyer friend. She's mainly a model and a fashion influencer. She's been in a couple movies. Um, but I don't mind her here. She's not bad. She works as this kind of like bubbly friend who's willing to help out during certain events. Oliver Cooper plays Samuel. This character's Leo's partner, and he's mostly there to just be weird. Like, he's like complimenting our main character many times, but like in kind of a weird way. Because like I don't think compliments automatically like saying somebody looks pretty isn't immediately weird, but he says it in the most like alien way, kind of like a lot of feminists think that men are like. Also, the only reason I recognize this guy, he was in Project X. He was one of the main characters in Project X. So do with that what you will. And Nestor Carbonell plays Evan, our main character's husband. This guy's been in multiple like direct-to-video movies. Um, he was also in the Batman, the the fir- he was. Oh wait, no, this guy was in the Dark Knight trilogy. He was in Smoking Aces. Um, oh yeah, that Andy Garcia movie I have on my watch list, Outlaws for Greater Glory. That has quite a good cast, and I did want to see that. But this guy, he does fine in the film. But I again, spoilers ahead. This movie's story is a fucking mess. And again, I want to give it credit for trying to do something different because the vibe of this movie is something I haven't seen in a while. This whole like suburban housewife living a double life type of thing looks innocent on the outside, but on the inside she's not a villain, but she's not what she's doing isn't good. And I have to just get straight to the twist because it's impossible to talk about this movie otherwise. Our main character turns out to be laundering money with her husband. And throughout the entire movie, it's like, oh, let me go into the let's go into the um to the basement. Maybe the car's in the basement, and she keeps being where the basement, which I was like, okay, her husband's gonna be down there or something. And he is. And he's down there because he was going to leave her for the like higher ups in their money laundering thing to go after because he didn't want to be in the business anymore. So she tied him up so that he couldn't get away, but then she ends up killing him by the end of the movie anyway. And this movie's story is a fucking mess. It really is. Because you have frickin' Samuel's character who doesn't really amount to much. He's just kind of there to die. You have Milo Gibson's character who by about an hour into the movie doesn't really get to say anything else. And again, he's been a highlight of the film along with Francesca Eastwood. And it all is basically leading up to them just killing all three of them. Like, and again, I think this premise could have been something very interesting, but it just falls flat. It's I'm trying to think of a movie to compare it to because again, it is a pretty original tone it's going for. It's also one of those movies where the main character has like violent fantasies, kind of like in I Spit on Your Grave 3, where Jennifer was having violent fantasies of how to kill somebody at a minor inconvenience. Kind of happens here where she's constantly thinking of ways to kill Milo Gibson's character because he's like intruding on her space. And by the end, you do find out why she's having these violent fantasies. Kinda. It's because she's way too stressed, like thinking that somebody's about to find out that her husband is in the garage. But for the first 45 minutes of the movie, before you know any of that stuff, it just kind of feels like it's a mess. And even knowing that, it's like the twist isn't that surprise. It's both out of nowhere and super not surprising because I knew that the husband was gonna be in the basement because or in the garage because she never calls the cops, first of all. She brings up the bank statement of all this. Oh, and the reason Milo is even there, tearing up the bathroom, and she brings up the statement, that's when you find out that she's um he's a partner of her husband's in the whole money laundering thing and he's trying to find the money. But apparently even she doesn't know where it is because he did this behind her back. So men bad, women good. And that's another thing. It does that thing too where it's like, "Oh, you don't trust me because I'm poor and you're rich." And then it turns out the poor guy is the villain, so it kind of loses its entire just like Parasite. Again, me shitting on Parasite. It kind of loses its whole poor people good, rich people bad thing when you your main twist is that the poor guy is the bad guy. Like, well, the worst guy. And most of what Milo Gibson does before we find out this twist is like it's like the most childish shit ever. Like Samuel is going around like sniffing underwear at one point. He's outside like thinking of things to say to um God, I keep forgetting her name. Janet because he's got a crush on her. Um the frickin' like Milo Gibson's character pisses in something in the maid's closet. Samuel's throwing out junk food, and I really don't understand how any of this is supposed to be threatening. Like, it would be more interesting if they did something that could actually be perceived as a threat, like leaving out a knife or something, and then revealing it to her. But I don't even know what the plot reason is to reveal something like this to her at a later date. You could just, once you're inside, take her hostage and say, yeah, we're taking over the bank thing and we don't know where your husband is. But again, this is one of those movies. I think there is the makings of a decent plot here. I feel like the premise, the concept is there, but you needed a better writer. The story writing is not that great. Like again, you could have done more with this like violent fantasies thing because after we find out that the husband is in the basement, well, after all of the audience, including the people who aren't paying attention at all, find out that the husband is in the basement, it stops and we're not given a reason for it, but it makes sense, I guess, given given the amount of stress she's going through. And again, I don't really know how I'm supposed to talk about this movie because it's very polarizing. It has like a 7% tomatoes, but a 4.9 on IMDb. So obviously people enjoyed this. If you did, awesome. But I think this film focused way too much, like a lot of female-led films nowadays, on having a like feminist message like girl power. But again, characters don't act like real human beings in order to achieve that. Samuel again acts like no human male I have ever seen in my entire life. Uh, Men are creepy, that whole thing. And again, there are good things about this. Again, Francesca Eastwood and Mel Gibson do good jobs. And the score by uh Jeff Francis and Cone Walters kind of reminded me of Jolt and and how it used like male voices in order to give it a bit of its own flavor. And it worked with how the action of that film was and the whole da 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 and the vocalizations, which you don't hear a lot in film scores. But yeah, here it's like kind of random, very random instruments like the pan was a nice addition. You just have to watch the movie to find out, but because the score isn't anywhere. But I really I hope they do a release of the OST. But yeah, I I don't have much more to say about that. I thought it just fell massively flat with what it was trying to do. The ending is very out of nowhere, and to be honest, when the ending happened, I thought there was going to be more, and then I checked the running time, and I was like, oh my God, there's like 7 minutes left, and then the credits happened. So it's again one of those movies where it feels like it's not super finished, or it rushes to the ending. But yeah, not much else I can say. That was my review of Clawfoot. If you've seen the film, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. If you have any recommendations, put them down there as well. And movie reviewer next door, out.